Well, Pope Francis has officially passed away this Easter Monday morning. My heart goes out to everybody who was impacted by that. But regarding that, I've got a lot of news to share with you guys. I know he was 88 years old, and he had some pretty significant issues with respiratory and problems with his respiratory. But what is important about all of this is what happens immediately after his death. And I kind of want to focus on that. And not only that, but how about the prophecy of Malachi? Is this the last pope? Question mark. I've got some intriguing stuff that you may not have heard about until now. But let's start first with the passing of Pope Francis. And this is on the Vatican News. They published it up there. Pope Francis has died on Easter Monday, age 88. It goes on to detail what happened. The Pope was admitted to the Agnostic Gemelli Polyclinic Hospital on Friday, February 14th, 2025, after suffering from a bout of bronchitis for several days. Pope Francis' critical situation gradually worsened, and his doctors diagnosed bilateral pneumonia on Tuesday, February 18th. After 38 days in the hospital, the late Pope returned to his Vatican residence at the Casa Santa Marta to continue his recovery. And then back in 1975, in his early 20s, he underwent surgery in his native Argentina to remove a portion of his lung that has been affected by severe respiratory infection. So this is something he has obviously struggled with for a very long time. This also came up, and by the way, that was published on Vatican News. But then we also have this, and this was regarding Pope Francis's final hours here, and it says, dying Pope Francis, final hours. Frighteningly frail pontiff, 88 years old, is telling his aides that he won't survive and is bracing for death as he's stricken with double pneumonia. And of course, this has been something the Vatican themselves have been talking about. The Pope has a double pneumonia condition, and it remains complex. So ultimately, this Pope has been struggling with pneumonia for quite some time. Now, with that said, I am not a fan of Pope Francis, never have been. I'm sorry that he has passed away, and I'm sorry to those affected. I'm not a Catholic myself. But that said, the guy has really done a lot of questionable things as a Jesuit Pope. He was the first Jesuit Pope. But anyway, he has been really critical in bringing together Muslims and Christians and Catholics all in one, which gives me a lot of eerie signs of something that is spoken of in the Bible regarding the false prophet. And that position could very well fit the papacy, right? No matter who the Pope is. So this is something to think about as well. As a quick reminder, please make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. As you know, YouTube has been removing people, so please double check your subscription. And if you're new here, subscribe and give me a thumbs up as well. On top of it, get to restrictedrepublic.com. I created this in light of all the censorship. I really hope to see you guys there. Hit that pause button. Sign up right now. You can get it for $5 per month. Use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5. That's Lisa and the number 5. And we've got all kinds of exclusive content I am not posting anywhere else. And this is less than a cup of coffee to support what we do over there. And you get exclusive content that we're not posting. So check it out. Use the coupon code Lisa5. Get it for $5 per month. And that's at restrictedrepublic.com. All right. So we all know, unfortunately, death has now happened with Pope Francis. But it's interesting that just before his death, he actually met with J.D. Vance. Take a look at this. Also on the Vatican News, Pope Francis meets with U.S. VP J.D. Vance at Santa Marta. So just before he died, he had one last meeting with J.D. Vance. Now, J.D. Vance has responded, and here's what he said. I just learned of the passing of Pope Francis. My heart goes out to all the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill, but I'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. May God rest his soul. And even President Trump has responded. He said, may he rest in peace. Pope Francis, may God bless him and all who loved him. So there is what our president has said, and that is despite the fact that Pope Francis, in my opinion, wasn't the nicest to Donald J. Trump. Remember this, and this is on ABC News here. Let me fix that. But it says ABC News, Pope Francis says Donald Trump is not a Christian. So regardless of all of that, I'm glad that Donald Trump still had a good sentiment towards the Pope, right? Either way, what we need to focus on is what happens after. And what happens after, and probably within the next, 2 to 4 weeks-ish, that's a guesstimate, they're going to have to pick another pope. And there are a lot of prophecies and false prophecies going around regarding all of that. But my question is, who is in the running for the next pope, and what are their freaking beliefs? Because the Pope thus far, lately anyway, has had a history of poking their nose in American politics and doing things like encouraging illegal immigration into our country, which I am sick and tired of. They need to stay the hell out of our politics. But anyway, who is up and coming, and should we worry about these new potential replacements for Pope Francis? Well, on Polymarket, if you ask the question, who will be the next Pope, as you can see in the highlighted purple section next to my face, the top runners on there are Pietro Parolin. So he's at the top at 36%. Right underneath them is Louis Tagle at 30. And then we have Peter Erdo, and then Peter Turkison, and then Matteo Zuppi, and then you could see the list kind of goes on with some of the others having the lower chances. And that is as of right now on the Polymarket guess and an estimate there. So these are some of the ones. I want to look at some of these top ones here. Like, what kind of history do they have? Are they should we worry? We'll take a look. And this is on olbg.com, but it says next Pope odds, Louis Antonio Tagle, favored following death of Pope Francis. So this side is saying, hey, Louis Tagle is at the top, is the most favored, and he could replace Pope Francis. And you can see their scale here is a little bit different. They're putting him about 36%, right in line, by the way, with Pietro Parolin. And that kind of goes in line with this, except for Louis is showing a little less. But these are the two at the top, according to multiple predictions, if you will. But what does Tagle actually believe, right? Well, Louis Antonio Tagle, he's a cardinal from the Philippines and a prominent figure with the Roman Church or with Roman Curia, has steadily risen through the Vatican ranks. He is seen as a progressive. That is bad news for us. And widely respected theologian. His profile has grown significantly during Francis's papacy, a legacy he could now continue. This guy is a straight up progressive. He's got some pretty left radical views. Now, to show you a little more on their views, the NY Post actually put this out. Here are the top cardinals that could replace them. And they give a little bit more of a detail on these popes. But this is Cardinal Louis Tagle right here in this picture. And he's the one that has very radical left views. It goes on. He is very open in his opinions on issues such as communion for sacramentally married couples and homosexuality, suggesting that universal moral principles may not apply in all situations. So this guy, who's one of the top leaders, is going to have very left views, probably similar to Pope Francis. And this is another one. Here's the one that's in second place or first place, depending on who. This is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, right? And he is an Italian. And they claim he has some conservative positions, so they say. I am not convinced on that, but he did back a collaboration between the church and communist China. So that's a little questionable there. Then we also have Cardinal Aveline, right? He's another one. He wasn't anywhere on this list, so much so maybe more towards the end, but he's another option. And he is what they're going to call a dangerous contender for the papacy because he is particularly appreciated in left-wing political circles and camps and supports strong decentralization for the church. So this guy is a leftist as well. I wouldn't want him in charge of the Pope there. Then we also have this one, Cardinal Ejik, and I may have butchered that. Please don't beat me up. But he is also lefty with lefty views there. You can read some of his stances on that. Then we also have this one here. And a lot of these are in line with some of the radical left views. Most of them actually are. So the chances of us getting someone good in there with, hey, some actual good, say, libertarian or more conservative beliefs, I think is rare. But what's interesting is upon literally right around the same time that the Pope died, Klaus Schwab announced that he is going to officially quit. Like originally he said he was going to quit and he's going to kind of work through 2027. And now he's just done. Crazy, right? Like the timing on that. But take a look here. And Davos Gathering founder Klaus Schwab quits as World Economic Forum chair. This is just published April 21st, 2025 at 6:10 in the morning. So right around the same time, literally the same day that the Pope passed away, here he is saying, you know what? I'm done with the whole thing. I'm just stopping. A lot of people missed that, but one has to ask why. One has to ask why. I'm not a fan of it. I hate Klaus Schwab. He's the devil, in my opinion. But anyway, there's kind of the details on all of that. But let's get into, and why the timing on that, I'm not sure. I think, I don't know. I'll leave that for you guys in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say. But with all of that, there is the prophecy of Malachi that is going around. Now, this is not something that the Catholic Church subscribes to. It is a conspiracy that has been around for, I guess it's a 900-year-old conspiracy, if you will. And some of it has happened, which is why it has gained so much traction. And so a lot of people are asking, was Pope Francis, is he the last pope? Is Peter the Roman going to surface? And basically we don't want that to happen because it ushers in the end, if you will, like Bible prophecy kind of end. But take a look, and this is on TN Times Now World, which I found it. It says, is Pope Francis the last pope? His death sparks renewed interest in a 900-year-old Judgment Day prophecy, right? It goes on to say, the death of Pope Francis on Monday has reignited global curiosity in a 900-year-old prophecy that suggests he may be the last pontiff before Judgment Day. The prophecy, attributed to Saint Malachi, a 12th century Irish archbishop, claims that the world will face divine judgment in 2027, just about 2 years from now, ending both the papal line and the Holy Roman Church. It goes on, the prophecy of the popes was discovered in 1590 by Benedictine monk Arnold Wyan and is kept in the Vatican secret archives. The work describes 112 cryptic mottos in Latin, each relating to succeeding popes, starting with that one there, Celestine II. It goes on. The book says that Pope Francis would be the last pope before Peter the Roman comes to lead the church throughout the trials and tribulations before the destruction of Rome in the final judgment. The final statement in the passage states, in the final prosecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will reign Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep and will be greatly persecuted, after which the seven-hilled city, which is meant to be Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge the people. The end. It's kind of like, this is the end. We don't really, the end of the world or what? Now, I don't subscribe to dates. I am not going to agree that the end of the world is coming in 2027. I subscribe to nobody knows the day or the hour, as the Bible says, right? So I'm not there, but what could it be that he is the last prophecy or pope or whatever? Well, there's lots of speculation on that. But I do believe that the papacy itself as a position could very well fit the false prophet spoken of in Bible prophecy. You have the Antichrist, you have the false prophet comes up. I think the papacy could very well play that role, especially considering the candidates now in line are becoming more and more radical and more leftist. And here's the deal. Let me say this, that I don't subscribe to dates at all. So I don't believe that this is necessarily the case, but it is interesting because they have gotten some stuff right over time. But anyway, ultimately, I'll let you kind of make the decision on that. But with all of that said, considering how left-leaning these popes have gotten over time, right? What I am very concerned about is the fact that they keep sticking their nose in politics where it doesn't belong, and that is in U.S. policies. We have and I love Catholics, right? My husband, he was a Catholic for a number of years. His parents are Catholic, so it's all in our family. And there's I think 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide, and not all of them subscribe to the Pope, right? There's a big movement outside of the Pope, but a lot of the Catholic charities, these non-government organizations, have been funding illegal immigrants coming into our country, and it's kind of pushed and swayed by the direction of the papacy. And I want them to stay the hell out of our politics. They have nothing to do with that. And here they are doing some of that. And many of them have benefited, unfortunately, from USAID sending money into those organizations. I believe one of the Catholic charities was suing as a result of that, the Trump administration. But anyway, I just want them out of our politics. And I don't trust the Pope with a 9-foot pole. I never would, but he does seem to be accomplishing the agenda as they go on and replace the popes of bringing the three religions together as one, where everybody worships the image of the beast and gets the mark of the beast on their right hand or forehead. But anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing. Can't wait to hear more from all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.